Well, hey folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. We are out here having a great day off-road with this, the brand new Chevy Silverado ZR2. Now there's gonna be lots more of this, mud and water, but for now, we wanna hook up a trailer and haul some payload to see how hard this truck works. So if you're ready for it, let's get into it right now. Let's kick this one off with the walk-around. So, powering our Silverado ZR2 is a naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8 that's making 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, sent through a 10-speed automatic. Now, looking at the front end, you get the unique grille, you get those bumper cutouts to allow your tires to approach obstacles better, and your whole bumper is unique just to improve your approach angle. Another little detail that I like, this truck gets the flow tie, and that's to help with cooling. Now, as we roll back, we can take a look at these. That is a set of 33-inch Goodyear Territory all-terrain tires. These are honestly becoming the standard go-to all-terrain for so many different stock off-road vehicles. Then as we roll down the middle of the truck, you get a nice set of rock rails right there. Now, as we get to the back, I'm going to tell you the ZR2 is only available in this configuration, crew cab with the short bed. You cannot get anything else. Now, we also have these great bumper steps down there and the Chevrolet multi-flex tailgate. Now, when we're actually going over the off-road numbers, this truck gets a 2-inch lift over stock, and Chevy lists it at 11.2 inches of ground clearance, 31.8 degrees of approach, 23.3 degrees of departure, and 23.4 degrees of breakover angle. Now we can look underneath the Silverado. First of all, big exposed tow hooks right in the front end. Then you roll back and you get to this, a nice beefy steel skid plate, and that extends beyond that front differential. Now up in here, I'll show you, those are the Multimatic shocks in the rear, in the front end. And they're hilarious because they're so short and chubby, and they really do a nice job. Now, moving back, we get to the next skid plate, which is right there. That's to protect your transfer case. Over here, you'll see the optional Borla exhaust. And then one of the things that surprises me, there's no protection right here on the gas tank. That thing is just hanging out there. Now at the back end, at the corners, you'll see those massive Multimatic shocks. And finally, yes, that is a full-size spare tire. Time for the payload test now, folks. So we have our new rubber mats. That's what we use for payload. We split them up onto skids, so we have 6 mats on each skid. But then once they're loaded into the truck, we can load mats individually to make sure we're as close as we can get to the payload. In this truck, we have 7 mats back there, plus that skid. That is 700 pounds, plus 500 and change pounds of Elmer's up here in the front. That brings us to 1,200, probably a little bit over the 1,277 that the truck is rated for.
It is after lunch.
So, all that being said, Dad, it's a beautiful day. We're out cruising. What do you feel? You feel the weight back there?
Yes and no. ZR2, this thing, the suspension on it, of course, we already know it's softer than the normal Silverado. However, the way that it handles it is, the bounce back rate is fantastic. You're not bottoming, you're not jittering. So even though I feel that the back end is softer and it's doing a little bit of this, when we hit a big pothole, boom, it comes right back to where it needs to be, and it doesn't throw it off.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the Multimatic suspension is designed to do. It's designed to give you confidence when you're working, and then to give you that soft suspension you want when you're beating on an off-road. And so far, so good, I'd say.
Works as advertised.
let me show you the camera system, because you can't access the cameras while you're moving. Now there's our rubber back there, there's our strap, and there's the 8-second timeout. So General Motors basically says you can see your stuff, but you don't need to see it for more than 8 seconds, and I actually agree with that. I think it's unsafe when you can just look at these views indefinitely. Now that's a front end view, so you can see out the nose of the truck, and you can get to the rear end view. The tailgate is open right now though, so that's why you're just looking down at the ground. But yeah, quite a few views, and again, I like that it times out, Dad. I think that's good for safety. What do you think?
Yeah, it doesn't draw your attention away longer than it needs to.
Exactly.
And I really like that above camera, because like today you see that strap is down low. So if I look in my mirrors, I can't see a strap. So if I want to see if my strap is still tight, that camera does it.
Nice. So the next thing I want to bring up is this interior. This is a brand new interior for 2022. It's something that we ragged on in many a General Motors pickup truck for the last 2 years or 3 years basically. And now we can't rag on it anymore. I think they've done a great job. We have all of this kind of high-tech feeling now with these big screens right across your dash, decent stitching, and then something I kind of really went after them about was all the black plastic, and it's mostly gone. You have a different material kind of up here on your upper glove box. You got this fake carbon fiber material. It looks like they paid more attention to detail. They didn't just slap black plastic and say it's good enough. So yeah, also a big home run here in the interior.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think where it really comes home is when you get in, you don't necessarily fixate on one thing. Just your immediate overall impression is, hey, this is nice.
Totally.
And I think that's what you want to do if you're a designer.
Yeah, and that was literally the opposite of the last truck, where I used to get in and go, ugh, why does it look like that?
Particularly for that money.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, they've done a great job in here now. Now let's go ahead and measure the squat. Because we have switched up to our rubber mats and away from our barrels, we can't really compare apples to apples anymore. Plus, now we are able to load these trucks up basically right to maximum by mixing and matching our mats. So when we are doing this, like I said, we're not gonna bring up that payload chart because we can't compare that weight to this weight. Anyways, let's see how much this truck was squatting. So that brings us to 39.5 inches. 39 1/2, we'll unload her, and yeah, we'll see how much it raises up. Now we've got the 700 pounds out of the bed, so let's measure again. The truck has not moved. And that brings us to an even 41.5 inches, so that's actually 2 inches of squat. Now generally we are used to seeing 2 inches of squat with 1,000 pounds of payload in the bed, and this was just 700. So yeah, I think this was squatting a little more than what you'd expect out of a half ton, but of course it's an off-road truck with a unique suspension, so I think that explains it. Time to hook up the trailer, folks, so I can show you the cameras here. That's your standard view. It's a rear end view and the top down. You can also get a front end in that top down. Then over here, that's a top down view on your nose, and that's top down on your tail. Then you can look down the sides of the truck. Those are the rear tires. Those are your front tires. This is your hitching view, which is going to come in handy, of course. And then finally, over here, we have our trailering guidelines, which you can turn on and off. And there you go. So for now, we'll stick with this view until we get in close and then switch over to the hitching view. So right about there. I actually want my guidelines turned back on. And then we go to the hitch. And boom! There it is. And now it is towing time, ladies and gentlemen. So the ZR2 that you see here today has a tow rating of 8,900 pounds. I know that thanks to General Motors' handy dandy door jam sticker. I say it in every video, I'll say it again. I love this sticker. I think every brand should do this. It is VIN specific. So the numbers on that sticker are for this actual truck. There's no guesswork. I don't have to go online, read a chart, and hope I read it correctly. GM just gives you the numbers. I appreciate that. So 8,900 pounds, trailer behind us is 7,000, so we're pretty well loaded up here, Dad. And I'll tell you, from the passenger side, it's feeling a little better than the squat suggested, because it really did squat quite a bit in the rear end. However, the nose is feeling high to me. So what are you feeling in terms of the squat and the nose?
With this suspension, we got quite a bit of droop in the back, and you can see the lift in the nose, so that's the attitude. So with this truck, you're gonna have to do a couple of things if you tow regularly that you don't do with say a regular Silverado. First of all, you won't be able to use a straight hitch. You're gonna need one that's adjustable, because so whatever you're used to setting up with your straight Silverado is not gonna work on this truck. Secondly, an equalizer. So that you can push some of that weight back forward, because the nose is up and it makes the steering a little bit twitchy. So it handles the weight fine. The power is certainly there, everything else is certainly there, but you got to compensate for this softer suspension.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is basically what you can expect out of a truck of this kind of off-road caliber. You have to kind of compromise in some areas, and that's usually where you end up giving up, is with your confidence when towing. I would say the same thing about a Raptor or a TRX, right? They just can't quite do it all. So if you're gonna tow heavy in this truck, it's gonna do it. It's just not gonna do it as confidently, like you said, as a regular Silverado, a Silverado Trail Boss, let's say.
Granted, however, I just want to add that you can fix it. Like I said, equalizing hitch and adjustable, so that you can dial it in properly.
Fair enough. And there's plenty of good towing systems on this truck. I mean, integrated trailer brake controller, that's great. Tow haul mode. And then I love the Chevy towing app that comes up here on the dash. First of all, it checks your lights for you, and we do have lighting issues. So every truck we get into now yells at us and says, hey, your lights are out, dummies. And then second of all, it has this safety checklist. I think that's always smart. You click on it, you run through all the different things you should do when you hook up a trailer, so you're good to go. So yeah, I like all the info that Chevy provides.
It does. The screen's telling us that our left turn signals are out, so thank God we only ever make right turns.
That's the easiest solution to fix it. And there's one other neat system here, which we just discovered. So this Silverado now has a gross combined weight alert. So it's not going to tell you what your truck weighs. What it will do is, if it thinks you're over your GCW, and that is the combined weight of your truck and trailer, it's going to spit out an alert and say, hey, you're overloaded. And then there's also a button that says find public scale. You hit that, it'll pull up your nav map, and it'll take you to the nearest scale so you can go weigh your load. I think this is probably in response to Ford coming out with the onboard scales, and I don't even really remember Chevy announcing this. They didn't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, this is something that we literally just discovered it right here.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's a little simpler than onboard scales, but it's giving you one very important piece of information. Am I overloaded or not?
Yeah, period. Okay, trying 0 to 60 here in the ZR2 with our 7,000 pound trailer. And GPS ready, hit it. Hello. Well, this puts us at a 12.99 0 to 100 kilometers or 62 miles per hour, which is pretty quick. You can see how it stacks up on the leaderboard. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, time for our first off-road obstacle, the ditch crossing. Now, it's really wet and muddy right now, and we're gonna go into it in off-road mode, in 4 high, with nothing locked up, and let's see what happens. Now when you're crossing a ditch like this, you always want to do it at an angle so you can deal with it one tire at a time. There's front driver, front passenger, and let's see if he'll climb for me. Oh no! Climb, baby! It's gonna do it, it's gonna do it, it's gonna do it! It did it! Nice! Well, it goes to show you right there, nothing was locked up. If I had have had lockers, I wouldn't have even had that moment of struggle because it wouldn't have had to kind of send power around. But there you go, it made it through there. Nicely done, unlocked. Now time for our offset ruts. So first of all, you're gonna see the truck flex right here, and you can see what the articulation is like. And then second of all, this is gonna show off how good the lockers are. Now it'll make it through here without the lockers, and that's what I am right now. Not locked up at all, just in 4 high, in off-road mode. And you'll see right here, once I lose traction off that rear passenger, it's gonna lift, and now she starts to struggle. And it's really gotta scratch for traction. Come on, come on, it's finding it, it's going, there it is, hello. So yes, like I said, we can make it through these ruts without being locked up, but the truck struggles, it scrapes, it shoots water and mud out. It's much more dramatic than when you use the lockers. So now let's run through locked and I'll show you the difference. Coming into the ruts once again, this time I'm just gonna lock up my rear end. In 4 high, you can lock the rear. You have to be in 4 low if you want to lock up your front, but right now I can just lock up my rear. And once again, this is gonna show you just how smoothly the truck walks through here when it's locked up. There should be no slippage whatsoever, because power is constantly getting to both of those rear wheels. No slip there, none whatsoever, just creeps through. And that's straight up the difference. Now, here's another argument you guys can have in the comments, because I've kind of heard from a lot of you, there's 2 schools of thoughts on lockers. A, you should lock everything up before you're into an obstacle to make sure you have all of your systems available to you, basically to get you through. B, and this is actually what Dad believes, and this is what he always taught me, you should go into something not locked up, because then if you do get stuck, well, at least you have one extra thing, one extra piece of equipment that you can turn on, and it's going to help you out of there. So this is really up for debate. I probably would have gone in there not locked up and I would have made it through, but you just see the difference. Locked, things, like I said, are much less stressful. There's no drama. You just get power down and you get right through obstacles. Alrighty, on to the next one. This is rock pile time. And for this, I'm going to use terrain mode here in the ZR2. Terrain mode is essentially 1 pedal driving. So I'm in 4 low, and I'm only using the throttle. I'm not touching the brake. In fact, when you lift off the throttle, the truck comes to a dead stop. Now this little rock pile, no, it's not massively challenging. You gotta have decent angles to get up and over it without kissing any of the rocks. But what it really does show you is how easy or hard it is to modulate. And so far, I like this 1 pedal drive. You just have to dig into it the tiniest bit to get the power, and then the second you start to lift, it got the brake right there. So you guys can see it from outside here, but I'm able to be just incredibly smooth with this truck in terrain mode. Now in 4 low by itself, you'd pretty much be able to be this smooth, but terrain mode, yeah, it does help a little bit. All right, now it is time for the hydro line. This one's gonna be a little bit different. When we did the launch for this ZR2, we were down in California. We were able to go out in the desert and go 60 miles per hour and really fly, because this is a high-speed truck. It was developed during desert off-road racing. Well, we don't have desert here, and today all I have is the hydro line. So I'm gonna try to make this the quickest hydro line ever. Let's hammer down, feel how the ZR2 does. And there's a lot of water out here, man. And the power from the 6.2 feels so good. The engine sounds amazing. And I am being thrown around up here a little bit, but for the most part, man, once those speeds pick up and those hits start getting harsher, you just don't feel them up here in the cab. You never feel anywhere close to bottoming out, and even as I'm bouncing around, yeah, there's just this smoothness to the truck that is all thanks to that Multimatic suspension. Okay, folks, now we're into the deep stuff. And there's so much water up here right now. It's wild. Actually, we came through with the Tacoma and the Frontier last week, and those trucks felt deeper because they're just a little bit smaller. This truck, just walks right through. Come on. And now let's see if we hit any rocks here on the hill. No?
Nope, zero clearance issues to speak of coming up that hill. And that was dramatically different than, like I said, those two mid-sizers, Tacoma Frontier, which were both nailing rocks all the way along. So yeah, the 2-inch lift here really makes a significant difference. Okay folks, and now the mud begins on the left hook. Let's see what this truck will do. Still in 4 high, off-road mode with the rear end locked. Oh yeah, lots of momentum. Let's see if it'll climb up out of the ruts. Out of the ruts, baby. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Always gotta watch that one stump. And then, with no momentum whatsoever, up the rocks. Heck yes, ZR2. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was so good. The rear locker obviously felt great in there. The tires felt excellent. And then usually on the transition from pit up to hill, there's a lot of spinning wheels. And this truck just didn't feel like it spun at all. It held its momentum. And then I basically did come to a dead stop and then continued on. And honestly, it did super well. So kudos to the tires for holding on, and kudos for the truck to making that mud look so dang easy. And the closest comparison I have right now is the Ford F-150 Tremor, because it's the last half-ton we ran through there. And honestly, the ZR2 straight up did it better. Absolutely did it better. And there we go, coming off the other end of the left hook. Well, you know what? I just brought up that F-150 Tremor, so let me talk about it a little more, because we just had that truck, we just did all of these trails, and at the end of that review, I really felt like the Tremor was a good competitor for this ZR2. And I think that's a big question with this truck, is where does it fit in? Because right off the bat, everyone said, well, is it a Raptor killer? And the answer is no. It's not the all-out bat, you know what, craziness of the TRX and of the Raptor. So then the question is, well, does it compete with the Tremor, a TRD Pro? And after doing what we just did, I actually feel like maybe it's a little bit better than the Tremor. The clearance, I think, is a bit better. The tires were better. And then there is no question at all that once the speeds pick up, this thing is absolutely better than that F-150. Now, also, what it's going to boil down to with this truck is the price. The one you see as it sits is $84,000 Canadian. Now, it might seem like a lot of money, but it actually seems like a decent bargain when you consider that a Ford Raptor here in Canada starts closer to 90, and then a TRX here in Canada is over 100. So when you look at that, yeah, it's not a horrible value. And then when you look at something like that Tremor, well, the Tremor we tested was almost the exact same price. And frankly, I think you're getting more truck over here out of the Chevy. So that's really where this ZR2 is placed, in that sweet spot of not over the top, insane, crazy power and crazy suspension. So that's where I think Chevy has kind of nailed this sweet spot. This truck is daily drivable, totally livable, and when you look at the competition, actually relatively affordable too. Well, folks, we've come to the end of this video, and as you've just seen, I need to go to the wash and get all the mud off of this truck. So I think the verdict here is clear. No, Chevrolet didn't go all out crazy chasing the Raptor. What they did do is built a competent off-road truck that is going to be absolutely livable every single day, and that's an important distinction. So folks, of course, now I want to hear from you. Go below, let me know what you think of this Chevrolet Silverado ZR2 or ZR2. And then as always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.